The Language of Survival. Shankun no Genyu Episode 8. Stronhart. Die 8 Hwa. Sudronharto. Mary Parker noticed it on the fourth morning. Not an attack, not a predator. Something quieter, and in its own way, more significant. The tribe was speaking English to each other. Not in the lesson circle, not in the structured setting the Parkers had established, in the ordinary flow of their day. The young man said something to the older man while stacking wood that included 2 English words. The older man responded with one. A woman near the fire looked at the eastern tree line and said danger to the person beside her, without any Parker present to prompt it. The language had moved. It had left the lesson and entered the life of the settlement. Mary stood at the territory's centre, the feathered dinosaur pressed against her left side, and watched this with the quiet, total attention she brought to everything that mattered. Princess came to stand beside her sister-in-law. No, beside her mother. She was Mary's daughter. "You're watching them," Princess sighed softly. "They're using English without us," Mary said. Princess followed her gaze. "How long?" "I think since the T-Rex engagement," Mary said. "When something becomes survival, it becomes real. They're not practicing anymore. They're using it." Princess was quiet for a moment. "Amin should know," she said. "He already knows," Mary said. They both looked at where Amin stood at the territory's eastern edge. Still. Balanced, the alpha aura radiating from his stillness the way it always had. Mary felt the specific quiet pride of a mother watching her son be exactly what he was. "Come," she said to Princess. "We start the morning lesson." The private Japanese lesson. Morning. The tribe was occupied with the day's first tasks. The Parkers gathered at the northern stream. Amin produced the vocabulary. "Jiyi," he said. "Kyoku," memory. "Jiyi." The family repeated. "Ming Tian." "Name," name. "Ming Tian." "Yanxie," kotoba, word. Mary looked at him when he said the third one. He met her gaze. He had chosen these words deliberately. She understood why. "Ming Tian watsukera to adore you, Imika," he said. "What does it mean to name something?" "Soriwo honmono ni suru koto," Mary said without pause. "It makes it real." Amin nodded. "Soda." Prince Parker, who had been working through the vocabulary with the demanding accuracy he brought to every session, looked between his son and his wife. He said nothing for a moment. Then, "Hika ga shikiyoto shiteiru," Prince said. "Something is about to happen." "Hi," Mary said simply. Rashim, who had been repeating vocabulary to himself in the low murmur that was his most effective retention method, paused. "Donakoto?" he said. "What kind of thing?" "Buzuga Chimaru," Amin said. "The tribe will decide." Rashim looked at his brother, then at his mother, then back at the stream. "Fen Katsuta," he said, and returned to his vocabulary. The 4 brothers practiced in their synchronized silence, producing each word together, at the same moment, from the same internal register. Nisa first, then the others following in the breath after his. So close to simultaneous, that only someone listening very carefully could detect the sequence. Cassandra sat slightly apart. She always sat slightly apart. She had absorbed the vocabulary in the first 2 productions, and was now doing what she did when the formal lesson content had been received, sitting with it in the specific interior way of someone who processed language not just as sound, but as meaning. "Yanxie halida," she said quietly. "Kotoba wa chikara da." Words are power. Amin looked at his daughter. "Suda," he said again. "Yes." Ameer, behind Mary, said, in the precise, measured Japanese that had become his language's signature, "Jiru shiteoku beki dato omoimasu." "Chun ozakiru koto." "I think we should record what happens today." "Do yatte?" Mary asked. "How?" "Owaiteoku," Ameer said, by remembering. Amira, beside Princess, said nothing, but she had stopped practicing her vocabulary and was listening. Which was, for Amira Campbell, its own form of full attention. The morning English lesson. Public. The tribe assembled with the energy that had been building across the past days. Fuller than the early sessions. More coordinated. The initial wariness of strangers giving way to the specific engagement of people who had decided something was worth their investment. Mary taught from the centre. Today's lesson was consolidation. The point where learned vocabulary became owned vocabulary. "Yesterday," she said. "Yesterday," the young man repeated. "We fought. Together." She gestured between tribe and Parkers. "We fought together," he said. "Good." She looked at the assembled faces. "What did we do yesterday?" The young man understood the shift. She was not offering the answer this time. She was asking, testing not his ability to repeat, but his ability to retrieve. "We fight," he began, caught himself. "We fought, T-Rex, together." "Yes," Mary said, warmly. "Completely." Several tribe members produced the past tense themselves after that, testing it, hearing it come from their own mouths, filing it in the specific, embodied way of people for whom language was not academic. Ameer was positioned 1 step behind Mary's left shoulder, the position he had established as his own during lessons. Close enough to observe everything, far enough not to interrupt, He spoke quietly to Princess beside him. "Mum, look at the young man's mouth." Princess watched. "He's not producing our vowels anymore," Ameer said. "He's producing his own approximation. The sounds are shifting toward his native phonological system while the meanings stay intact." "That's normal, isn't it?" Princess said. "Every language does that." "Yes," Ameer said. "But this means they're not learning English anymore. They're making something from it, their own version, and—" He paused, the C2 precision of his English finding the exact weight. "That means they have authorship now. The language belongs to them as much as it belongs to us." Princess considered this. "Tell Grandma," she said. Ameer moved to Mary. He relayed what he had observed in the way she nodded when something had confirmed what she had already sensed. After the morning lesson, the young man asked them to stay. Not in English. He did not have a phrase yet for "please remain, I have something to show you." He communicated it through the specific, deliberate quality of his posture as the lesson's circle began to disperse. He stood and looked at Mary, then at Amin, then at the ground between them. Stay! Mary stayed. The family stayed. The cave woman came to stand beside the young man. He had a piece of bark in his hand, flat, worked smooth on one side. He had been preparing it for some time. On the surface, scratched carefully with a sharpened flint, were marks. Not the tribe's pictographic system, the maps and warning symbols that the cave woman had been using from the beginning. These were different. Rough, imprecise attempts at the letters the Parkers had written in the soft earth during lessons. Some reversed, some merged, all unmistakably reaching toward the Roman alphabet, and scratched in the center of the bark, larger than the rest, one word, Stronhart. The young man held it out to Mary. He looked at her, then at Amin. "Stronhart," he said. "The word was not Stronghart. The two English words the tribe had been building toward since episode 5. It was not a phrase. It was not two words that the tribe was combining. It was one new thing, the tribe's own construction. The sound of strong compressed into stron, the sound of heart compressed into heart, and the two collapsed together into a single word that had never existed in any language before this moment. A word the tribe had made. For Amin Parker." Mary looked at the bark, at the word, at the young man. She looked at Amin. Amin was standing, as he always stood, still, balanced, the alpha aura present in the specific biological way it was always present. He looked at the bark, at the word scratched into it by someone who had been watching him for months, and had decided that the sounds already being used were not sufficient. That what they were observing required its own word, its own sound, something that was not borrowed but built. He said nothing. He simply looked at the young man. The young man held the word. "Stronhart," he said again. He pointed at Amin, not questioningly, not the way he pointed when he was asking for confirmation, the way someone points when they are naming a thing that has already been decided. "This is what you are called." The cave woman spoke. She addressed her tribe, briefly, with the authority she brought to all things. Whatever she said carried the weight of someone making something official. The tribe listened. Several of them produced the word themselves after she finished. "Stronhart! Stronhart!" It passed around the gathering with the specific quality of something that had been waiting to be said. Ameer said, very quietly to his mother beside him. "They just created a word, Mum." "I know," Princess said. "Not borrowed, not learned, created. From components we gave them, yes. But the synthesis is entirely theirs. The compression of two words into one unified sound with a single stable meaning." He paused. "That is how languages grow. That is how words are born. We are watching the beginning of something." Amira, on Princess's other side, said, "It's his name." "Yes," Princess said. "They gave Uncle Amin a name." "Yes." Amira looked at Amin across the gathering. Her expression was what it always was. Cold, precise, the specific temperature of someone who had decided distance was the correct default. But something behind it, in the specific quality of her eyes, was different. She said nothing else, but she looked at the word on the bark for a long time. Mary took the bark from the young man's hands. She held it carefully, with the specific quality of someone receiving something that she understood was significant. She looked at the word, Stronhart. She looked at Amin. She had spent his entire life watching him become what he was, the boy who had studied every martial art he could find, and the man who had trained in Okinawa under Akane, and come back changed in ways she felt before she fully saw. The son who had stood between his family and every version of danger this world had produced, the being who had faced Satan in heaven, and the T-Rex in this ancient world, and had done both, with the same stillness, the same extraordinary quiet presence that every creature with survival instincts eventually recognized and responded to. And now a tribe that had no language in common with him had named that thing, had made a word for it, had decided that what existed in him was real enough and distinct enough to deserve its own sound in the world. She walked to Amin. She held the bark out to him. He looked at it. He looked at her. "Stronhart," she said, softly, in English, the word she was offering him not as a name but as a fact, the kind of fact that arrives from outside and confirms what was already true. Rashim, who had been standing with his sons and had been doing his absolute best to process everything in silence, finally broke. "They named him," he said. "To no one in particular. To everyone. They made up a word and they named my brother with it. Brother, Princess said, beside him, her voice carrying the same quiet weight. Rashim looked at his sister, then at Amin. Stronhart, Rashim said, testing the sound of it in his own mouth. I mean, listen to it. Stronhart. That is a real word. That sounds like a real word. Doesn't that sound like a real word to everybody? It is a real word, Ameer said from behind them. As of this morning, Rashim looked at his nephew. As of this morning, Rashim repeated slowly. It is a real word as of this morning. He absorbed this. That is actually remarkable. Yes, Uncle Rashim, Ameer said. You don't have to agree with me that fast, Rashim said. It's more convincing if you take a moment. I already ran the analysis, Ameer said. Ameera said. He really did. Prince Parker had been at his elevated position through all of it. He came down now. He walked to where Amin stood with the bark in Mary's hands between them. He looked at the word. Prince Parker did not speak easily about things that moved him. He had spent his entire existence expressing himself through commands and corrections, and the blunt, demanding energy of someone who led through force rather than warmth. Tenderness for Prince Parker was something that happened below the surface and stayed there, visible only to those who had been watching long enough to know where to look. He looked at Stronhart. He looked at Amin. Then he said, with the specific flatness of someone delivering a fact, They knew before we got here. Amin looked at his father. They knew the moment they saw you, Prince said. We taught them English, but they already knew what you were. He paused. They just needed the word. He said it the way he said everything. No softness, no ceremony. But he said it. And in the Parker family, in the way the Parker family had always functioned, you understood that what Prince Parker said bluntly was what Prince Parker meant completely. He turned and walked back to his position. Amin watched him go. He said nothing. But something in his stillness, the specific, fractional quality of his stillness, in the moment after his father had spoken, was different from the stillness that preceded it. The young man came to Mary at the end of the gathering. He had been watching everything, the way the word had passed through the tribe, the way the Parkers had received it, the way Mary had carried it to Amin. He had been running his own analysis in the way that the young man always ran his analysis, quietly, completely, with the specific focus of someone for whom everything was information. He stopped before her. He pointed to the bark in her hands. He pointed to Amin. Then he looked at Mary, and the question in his eyes was not, is this correct? He already knew it was correct. The question was something more specific. Do you understand what we did? Mary held his gaze. Fankatsu dimasu, she said, in Japanese, before she could stop herself. Then she caught it, corrected to English. Yes, she said. I understand. She tapped the bark. Stronhart, she said. She pointed to Amin. Then she did something the young man had not expected. She pointed to the bark, then to the tribe, then made the gesture the cave woman had taught her, the one that meant what belongs here stays here. This word belongs to your people. The young man read it. He processed it for a moment. Then he nodded, and the slow, full nod of Somione, receiving something important. Stronhart, he said, and the word in his mouth had a quality that it had not had when he first scratched it into the bark. It had settled. It had arrived in the space where a word lives when it is no longer new, when it has moved from creation into use. That night, around the fire, the word travelled. Mary heard it pass from the young man to the older man, from the older man to the woman who had been attending lessons since the second week, from her to two others. Not as a lesson, not as a word being taught, as a word being shared. The specific organic movement of language through a community, not top-down, not structured, but person to person, fire to fire. The way all the words that had ever mattered in any language had always travelled. Stronhart, Stronhart. Cassandra sat slightly apart from the gathering, as she always did. She had been listening to the word travel all evening. She produced it once, quietly, to herself, testing it in her own mouth. She looked at her father across the fire. He was sitting with his back straight, his weight even, his breathing slow. The Mabu was not a stance he assumed. It was a quality his body maintained without conscious direction, the resting expression of a lifetime of training. He was watching the settlement the way he always watched it, with total, quiet attention that asked nothing of the space and received everything from it. She looked at the bark in Mary's hands. Stronhart. She produced the word again. Barely a sound, more breath than syllable. She thought of the cave, of the first time he had held his arm out and told her to trust the angle, of the way he had said, "You are my successor," without performance, without drama, as simply as he said everything. She thought of the word the tribe had made, and she thought in Japanese, because Japanese was now the language she thought in, when she thought about things that mattered. Bira hachen shi. They are right. The private Japanese lesson. After the tribe slept, the family gathered at the northern perimeter. Amin looked at each of them. Jinriha, henka sokita, he said. What happened today? Kotosada ga umareta, Mary said. A word was born. Bazou no kotoba ka, Prince said. The tribe's word. Hazatachi no kotoba de mo aru, Cassandra said quietly. And also ours. Amin looked at his daughter. Do you, Imida? Rashim said. What does that mean? Cassandra was quiet for a moment. Then, Si-tachi ga karera ni konteba o oshieta. Karera wa watashi tachi ni namae o oshieta. We taught them words. They taught us a name. The family absorbed this. Kotoba ha soufouson da, Ameer said. Kotoba wa souhoukou da. Language is bidirectional. His Japanese arriving with the precise, architectural quality that was his signature. Shuke kiru dake janai. Ataeru koto mo aru. Not only receiving, also giving. Kyou kara Stronhart toいう言葉が存在する, Mary said. From today, the word Stronhart exists. She said it simply, the way she said everything that was true. Ameer said, in Japanese, slowly, working through the structure, Susono konjepa kare ga nano muto ka o shoumen shita. That word proves what he is. She said it without looking at Amin, watching the jungle instead, her voice carrying the cold, compressed quality it always carried. But she said it. Amin looked at his niece. He said nothing. He simply produced the evening's vocabulary. Yanxie, Kotoba word, Yanxie. The family repeated. Mingtian, Namae, name. Mingtian, Li, Chikara, power, Li. The words move, throw the family in the dark at the territory's edge. The tribe slept behind them. The fire burned low at the settlement's center, and somewhere in the eastern jungle, on its circuit, the T-Rex moved through the prehistoric dark, running its calculation, counting its encounters, measuring the variable it had not yet resolved. The family would be ready. They had the language for it now. Both of them. End of episode 8. Stronhart Shengsun no Gengo Dai 8話. Stronhart Paka Meari wa 4人目の朝にそれに気づいた。攻撃ではない。不時者でもない。より静かな、そしてtudjiの方法で、より重要な、何か。プソクがお互いに英語で話していた。授業の論の中ではない。パーカー家族が確立した構造的な環境ではない。翌日の普通の流れの中で、弱い弟が心を積みながら、年配の男に、パーカー・メアリーが認識できる2つの英語の言葉を含む何かを言った。年配の男は一具で応答した。火のそばの女性が振りの目利きのラインを手にて、そばの人にダンゲアと言った。どのパーカーもねだらすためにそこにいなかった。言語は働いていた。授業を離れて集落の生活に入っていた。パーカー・メアリーは領域の中心に踊っていた。壁のある恐竜がいつも通り影輪に押し付けていた。そしてこれを重要なすべてのことに持ってくる静かで全体的な祝儀で目見ていた。パーカープリンセスが隣に立ちに来た。見ているわね。とパーカープリンセスは静かにやねった。私たちなしで英語を使っている。とパーカー・メアリーは言いねった。パーカープリンセスは集落を見宿した。いつから ?T-Rex の強戦からだと思うとパーカー・メアリーは祈った。何かが生存になると本物になる。練習しているのではない。使っているの。パーカープリンセスはしばらく静かだった。アミンに知らせるべきね。もう知っているとパーカー・メアリーは言った。二人は栗の葉に目立つパーカー・アミンをめげた。静かに、バランスよく。アルファオーラがいつも放射するように放射していた。パーカー・メアリーは2日が彼自身であることを目にている目の特定の静かな誇りを感じた。来て、と彼女はパーカー・プリンセスに言った。朝の授業を始めましょう。秘密日本語授業。朝不足は最初の作業で忙しかった。パーカー家族は刷毛の鐘へ待った。パーカー・アミンはゆかりを生み出した。記憶と彼は言った。記憶と家族は繰り返した。名前目、名前目、言葉は。パーカー・メアリーは3番目を言ったとき彼を舐めた。彼は彼女の次元に変えた。意図的に選んだコマンドだった。彼女は理由を理解した。名前をつけるとはどういう意味かと彼は言った。それを本物にすることとパーカー・メアリーは賭けを抜かずに言った。パーカー・アミンは寒いた。そうだ。パーカー・プリンスは息子と昨日キラのげ見た。何かが起きようとしているとパーカー・プリンスは言った。はい。とパーカー・メアリーは単純に言った。パーカー・ラシームは遊戯を自分自身に繰り返していたのをやめた。どんなこと？不足が決めるとパーカー・アミンは言った。パーカー・ラシームは胸を見た。それから目を、それから川に踊った。わかった。そしてヨガに踊った。もう私兄弟は同期した沈黙の中で練習した書く言葉を一緒に同じ瞬間に生み出した。ブラウン・カサンドラは少し離れて作った。いつもそうだった。最初の未開の生産でヨガイを吸収して今久保を内側の特定の方法で作っていた。言としてだけでなく意味として言語を処理する誰かの方法で小立場バレーだと彼女は静かに言った。パーカー・アミンはスズメをめんた。
そうだ。チェンバース・アメアは記録しておくべきだと思います。今日起きることを、と言った。どうやってとパーカー・メアリーは尋ねた。覚えておくとチェンバース・アメアは言った。キャンベル・アミラーは何も言わなかった。しかし、予外の練習をやめて聞いていた。キャンベル・アミラーにとってそれ自体が完全な忠義の形だった。朝の英語授業、公開不足はこれまでよりも充実したエネルギーで集まった。パーカー・メアリーは中心から教えた。Yesterday、昨日と彼女は言いました。Yesterday と若い男は繰り返した。We fought together。私たちは戦った。一緒に。We fought together と彼は言った。Good、良い。彼女は集まった顔を見た。What did we do yesterday? 昨日何をしましたか？若い男は理解した。今回は答えを提供していない。取り出す能力をテストしている。We fought、戦った。T-Rex、together。Yes、はい。とパーカー・メアリーは言った。高く、完全に。チェンバース・アメアはパーカー・メアリーの左肩一部後ろに位置していた。授業中に自分のものとして確立した位置。静かにパーカー・プリンセスに言った。お母さん、若い子の口を目にて、パーカー・プリンセスは見た。私たちの霊因をもう生み出していない。自分自身の今私を生み出している。弟が意味を保持しながら彼のネイティブの人間システムに向かってシフトしている。それは正常でしょう、とパーカー・プリンセスは言った。はい、とチェンバース・アメアは言った。しかしこれは彼らがもはや英語が学んでいないことを意味する。それから何かを作っている自分たちのバージョン。そして、一時停止した。それは彼らが近受者権を持っていることを意味する。言語は私たちと同じく、ライビーラのものだ。おばあちやにこして、とパーカー・プリンセスは言った。チェンバース・アメアはパーカー・メアリーに開いた。観察したことを3つの正確な文で伝えた。パーカー・メアリーは聞いた。一度ゆっくり寒いた。すでに感じていたことが確認されたときに寒く方法で。朝の授業の後、若い音が彼らにとどまるよう求めた。英語ではない。残ってください。見せたいものがあります。のフレーズはまだなかった。姿勢の特定の意図的な日で伝えた。パーカー・メアリーの前で止まった。杉の一辺を手に持っていた。鏡で片面が滑らかに加工されていた。中央に、かねったフリントで慎重に引っかかれた戯曲、ストロンハート・ドークノが隣に来た。若い男はパーカー・メアリーに覗きを差し出した。それからパーカー・アミンをめげた。ストロンハート。と彼は言った。ストロンがシストロンに圧縮され、ハートがハートに圧縮されて、二つが単一の新しい言葉に崩れた。どんな言語にも以前に存在しなかった言葉、フブズが作った言葉、パーカー・アミンのために。パーカー・メアリーはハチフィキをフェンキた。言葉を見た。若い男が見た。パーカー・アミンをフェンキた。若い男がパーカー・アミンを示唆した。自問的にではなく、すでに決まっていることを命名するときに誰かが示唆す方法で、これがあなたの呼ばれる名前だ。ドークド女は不足に話した。歓喜に権威を沿って。不足は聞いた。彼女が終わると、いくつかの人々が自分で言葉を生み出した。ストロンハート。ストロンハート。集まりを通じて、まだやわれていなかった何かが、ついにやわれた後の日でそれは通った。チェンバース・アメアは、パーカー・プリンセスに静かに言った。彼らは言葉を作ったね、お母さん。知っていると、パーカー・プリンセスは言った。ギエルたのではない。スウェーンたのでもない。スウォーツだ。私たちが与えたコンポーネントから。はい。しかし、語性は完全に彼らのものだ。二つの言葉を一つの統一された音に圧縮することは、一時停止。それが言語が成長する方法だ。それが言葉が生まれる方法だ。キャンベル・アミラーは言った。彼の名前だよね。はい。とパーカー・プリンセスは言った。彼らがアミの字さんに名前をつけた。はい。キャンベル・アミラーは集まりを越えてパーカー・アミンを見た。彼女の表現はいつも通りだった。冷たく、精味だった。しかし、への後ろの何かがだった。何も言わなかった。しかし、初聞きの言葉を長いまでなみた。パーカー・メアリーは若い男の手から書引を受け取った。慎重に持った。重要であることを理解している。誰かが何かを受け取る特定の地で、ストロンハート、パーカー・アミンを真似た。彼の練習クワンティをトングザイトビ、ガフトルカになるのをかにてきた。空手とウィングチュンと少林寺を学んだ少年。沖縄で、茜の下で休業した男。この世界が踏み出したすべての危険のバージョンと家族の間に踊ってきた息子。
そして今ゲとの共通言語のない不足がその存在を明明した。言葉を作った。パーカー・アミンに歩いた。数匹を差し出した。ストロンハートと彼女は言った。静かに。英語で。パーカー・ラシームは最終的に口を開いた。彼らは体を命名した。言葉を作って私の胸をそれで命名した。9年にとパーカー・プリンセスが隣で言った。パーカー・ラシームはせっかくそうに見た。それからパーカー・アミンを見て、ストロンハートとパーカー・ラシームは言い、自分の口でその恩を示した。本物の言葉のように聞こえる。街にそう聞こえない。本物のことだとチェンバース・アメアは言った。きなさからパーカー・ラシームハチェクのひなさから本物の言葉だ。吸収した。それはしげさげに注目に接する。はい。アンコル・レイシム・トヒエン・バス・アベア・ハヤン。バカ・ラシムはチェンバス・アメアを兼ねた。そんなに早く同一しなくていい。すでに分析を実行したとチェンバス・アメアは言った。キャンベル・アミラーは言った。本当にそうした。パカ・プリンスは高所から下に来た。ストロンハートを見た。パーカー・アミンを見た。彼は私たちがここに帰る前に知っていたとパーカー・プリンスは言った。パーカー・アミンは服を見に来た。彼らはあなたを見た瞬間に吸っていた。とパーカー・プリンスは言った。私たちは彼らに英語を教えた。しかし、彼らはすでにあなたが何であるかを知っていた。一時停止。ただ言葉が必要だっただけだ。リグ直によった。聞かさなく。意識しなく。しかしよった。パーカー・プリンスが緑直によったことは、パーカー・プリンスが風に意味することだということを、パーカー家族では理解していた。彼は向きを変えて位置に戻った。パーカー・アミンは彼が取るのを命じた。何も言わなかった。しかし、彼の静けさのがな中が、血が離した後の特定のわずかな静けさのシャリ、その前の静けさとは違った。秘密日本語授業。物が目伏った後、家族はパイの外周で集まった。パーカー・アミンは全員を見にた。今日は何が起きた？言葉が生まれたとパーカー・メアリーは言った。そのことがとパーカー・プリンスは言った。私たちの言葉でもあると、ブラウン・カサンドラは静かに言った。どういう意味だとパーカー・ラシームは言った。ブラウン・カサンドラはしばらく静かだった。私たちが彼らに言葉を教えた。彼らは私たちに名前を教えた。家族はこれを吸収した。言葉は双方向だ。とチェンバース・アメアは言った。受け取るだけじゃない。与えることもある。今日からストロンハートという言葉が存在するとパーカー・メアリーは言った。真実を言う彼女の方法で。単純に。キャンベル・アミラーは言った。日本語でゆっくり構造を作業して、その言葉は晴れが出ないものかを証明した。パーカー・アミンなしに言った。ジャングルを見ながら。しかしやった。パーカー・アミンは口を見た。何も言わなかった。夕方の魚介を生み出した。言葉、生目、彼から言葉、生目、あら、と家族は繰り返した。言葉は領域の端の話の中で家族を通じて働いた。不足は後ろで眠っていた。火はサークの中心で低く燃えていた。そして振りのジャングルのどこかで回路を働いている T レックスが計算を続けた。まだ解決していない変数を数えて家族は準備するだろう。今は両方の言語を持っていた。第8話が終わり、ストロンハート、